How you doing? So it's a Tuesday afternoon and I'm drinking a mojito, and I decided that I wanted to grab the camera and talk about something I've wanted to talk about for ages now, and it's ever since I played this game, Hellblade, and it got me thinking and questioning about the state of gaming, where it's going, why it's in this particular rut, and just to pick it apart really and find out what's actually going on. And I'm going to use Hellblade as the example to just take you through all this. Now, obviously, I'm not in the gaming development, so I don't know how much things should cost and all this lot, but this is just an outsider looking in. This is my theory on it, and take it as you will. There might be food for thought, or you might just be tuning in to just see this. You're tuning in to see this. So, Hellblade is made by Ninja Theory, and what made me instantly buy this game, first of all, was it was a AAA game that was polished, professional, looked amazing, but was cheaper than the traditional AAA. It was like £30, I think, might have even a bit cheaper, instead of the normal 45, potentially 50 quid as some of them are at the moment. And I was like, that's pretty damn cool. And I then looked into them and then found some of the vlogs, and in doing so found out how they approach this game differently than everyone else. Now, Ninja Theory backed this entire project themselves, which most developers do, but they didn't have much money in the bank, so they're going off loans and whatnot to try and scrape by. So they set out to make this game which has got mo capture and a lot of things to make it super glossy and sexy, which normally mean big bucks, and they haven't got the money. And what makes me appreciate them is what they did is used what little they had. Now, first of all, when it comes down to the mocap side of things, obviously the price of mocap is coming down like every piece of technology, but it doesn't mean it's cheap. It's still a very pricey thing to do. And what they did is they went out and was like, we could spend millions on all these mocap suits and pay for studios and all this, but we haven't got money, so let's get a bunch of GoPros.
Our first prototype rig consisted of several GoPro cameras with different lenses. So pairs of cameras would capture the face in 3D, the body, and also pick up on visual markers around the room. And the idea was that you'd be able to capture face, body, and even the camera position anywhere in 3D space.
So then, after a bit more in this video, they actually do go on to say they actually upgraded it onto something a bit different, but still it kept it within their budget. But then once they had tackled the actual mocap side of things, they needed to actually record the face. Now, again, there was two corners cut on this. First of all, they didn't have the particular studio to do it, so you want to have even lighting and things like that. So what they took to was going onto Amazon to get some lighting and go to IKEA to get some wardrobe poles. And then the other thing, which tends to be quite expensive, is the actor or actress to actually play this. And what they decided to do is use a member of staff. So they went on to use Melina Jorgens, which I believe is one of the editors. She's done a little bit in the past because they've done Devil May Cry, and I think she appeared slightly in that. But nonetheless, this isn't her profession. So they tried her out in it, loved her for it, and ran with it. And I absolutely love that these guys have done everything they can to bring the price down. And not only that, they brought the price down, and then because it was low, instead of taking even more profits out of it, because this game sold well, they dropped the price of the game and kept it at a £30 game. And some people are like, well, it is a reasonably short game. There is plenty of £40, £50 reasonably short games out there. So the thing is, they saved money and passed it on to us. But that's not just why I want to talk about this. The thing is because it's a small studio that have made something that they love. And I think this is the problem with the AAA market at the moment. Now, it falls down to two categories, size and money. Now, first of all, let's just talk about the money side of things. These guys that made Hellblade had little amount, so they had to use what little they had. Whereas when you go to these big guys who've got plenty of money from the past games, the thing is, you've got a big pot of cash to spend. And the problem is, they spend it. Now, a very random example, I know, but I work for myself. So therefore, it's my business, and I'm passionate about my business. See the word there, my, that will come back. And when it comes down to buying anything, I won't be silly about it because it's my money, my business's money. So when I came to get some monitor stands, I ended up searching around to try and find this big unit. I think this cost me about £30. It's big, it's heavy, it does the job. But the point is, I got what I needed and kept the price reasonable. But before I quit to work for myself, I used to work for another company. And while I was in that company, I also needed a monitor stand. And when I purchased that, instead of spending about £30, I spent 250 quid on a monitor stand because it wasn't my money. It was the company's money, and it's not as if I was passionate about that company. Now, if it was a small company, if I was working with 4 or 5 people, and I know at the end of the day, we want this business to succeed because I feel like it's actually a part of all of us instead of just being a cog. I would have not spent £250 on a monitor stand. I would have gone, right, I'll just either put a couple of books underneath it, let's keep these prices down. But I would have never spent 250 quid out of the man's money. And this is what I think is a problem. When you've got these big, gigantic companies with like frigging 250 to 1,000 members of staff on one particular game, lots of people become cogs and they don't really care about the big picture. So when they've got a chance to spend a lot of money, they do. And this comes in a range of different forms. It's not just them buying bits and bobs and the computers and the parts that they need, but it also comes down to when you can't be asked to haggle for a price. Now, in some games you may need to get the assets, or if it's the music or copywriting problems or anything like that. The point is, if I was trying to license some music and someone was like, oh, it's going to cost you this amount of money, I would haggle, try and bring that price down. If you're in a company and it's not your money, as soon as they like, oh, it's going to cost you £1 million to license this, you'll go, okay, it's not my money, I don't care. I got the job done, boss pats me on the back, let's move forwards. So the point is, the bigger these games become, the less personal it is for the person that's making it, and they don't care about the money side. And the other thing I want to touch on as well is, with this, they've used a particular nobody. No one actually knew who she was really. So when I play this game, I see a fresh face and a fresh voice, and my brain doesn't do something which it does a lot on AAA games, and I don't know if I'm the only one, but I hate it. And that is, when she speaks and when I see her, my brain goes, that is her, we are playing a game, you're submersed. When I play AAA games and they're like, we've got the money, why pay for a nobody when we can pay for a somebody? Let's get in a famous actor. The first thing my brain does is goes, who's that? That's such and such. Now, the best example of this is the Witcher series. I love the Witcher series, think it's absolutely fantastic, but they use Charles Dance.
I thought you bowed before no man.
And a lot of people are like, well, it was very fitting. Well, yeah, because it kind of is pretty much the same role that it was doing in Game of Thrones. But the point was, when I was playing that game, I believe the characters and the voices, and I am submersed. And then next minute, Charles Dance turns up, and it just goes, and I'm out of the game instantly. I'm like, it's Game of Thrones, it's Charles Dance, what's going on?
Grand Maester, perhaps some essence of nightshade to help him sleep.
And I hate that. And the problem is, with these big companies, oh, beg your pardon, my screen's just died. As I was saying, with these big companies, the problem is they don't care about the money, so they'll pay for the better actors. And I think it actually damages the game more. And as I've touched on slightly as well, the other thing is the size of the actual staff. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think a team of 5 people can make a Witcher or a GTA. These are studios that need to be large because they are going for very, very big games. So what I'm talking about doesn't necessarily cover everything, but some particular games don't need the staff levels that they do. And the problem is, I feel like if, again, when I run my own business, when I do work for somebody, I feel like it's my personal work, and I take time and effort to make sure what I produce is something I'm proud of. Whereas when you go into a team, say maybe about 5 or 10 people, you'll probably still feel that. You go, well, do you know what I mean? I'm doing the maps for this, I'm doing the audio, I'm doing this. I want to do the best job because I want this game to succeed. I want our company to get enough money to make the next game. So we all need to do the best we can do to make sure we have a job and we have more games to make and people enjoy our content. But then explode that up to the scale where you have a team of 500. Now, you've been told to do the assets, so you're working on a bush. And at the end of the day, you can make the best bush in a game ever made, or you can make an okay bush and you get paid the same. And you're not that bothered if the game necessarily succeeds or flops, because they've got that much money, the chances are you're going to make another game. Now, don't get me wrong, if a game flops, the chances are a studio could get shut down, so it's not as cut as dry as that. But the point is, there's not the pressure you can hide away among many people. So if you are slightly slack on a game, it doesn't notice, but the next minute everyone could feel like that, and then the quality of the game goes down. And what I find is the bigger these games get, the less love there is. When I play these smaller titles such as this, you can see they've painstakingly gone over that game and injected love. There is time and effort spent into everything that they've done, and they've done everything for a reason. So I think the best way to put it really is the smaller teams have the motto of use what you've got, but the bigger teams have the motto of buy what you haven't. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, it don't cover every area of gaming, because some games will need that bigger studio, and some games will have to spend a lot of money, like GTA, that want to have the known tracks from out of soundtracks and stuff like that. So yeah, it don't cut everything, but the point is, when you look at some games like Call of Duties, they're not massive, and don't get me wrong, some money will be spent on the actual server side of things, but aside from that, it makes me go, does a staff and a budget that big really is needed for a game of that caliber? And before anyone goes, oh, it's probably spent on advertising, the sad thing is that's pretty true. I think it was Destiny that spent 20 million to make the game, and the entire cost was 63 million. So that means 43 million, so double it cost to make, was spent in actually just advertising it. But we're going off onto a completely different tangent now, so I'm going to love you and leave you there. I'm going to sit back and drink this, and hopefully this video will come out okay, because I'm trying something with the colour grading. I'm going through different options of the camera. I'm still getting used to it, and after spending all that money on the camera, I had to go out and buy another lens. I am addicted to using this camera. I've gone mad on photography, but that's where I'm going to love you and leave you there. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed my random rant about Hellblade. If you haven't played it, please do so. It is a very, very good game, and I will love you and leave you there. Cheers, guys. Bye.